Communication is the process of sending or receiving information from sender to receiver by speaking, writing, or using some other medium such as phone or computer. For example, A is texting B to ask for the answer for math homework. To reply A, B can easily send picture of his answer to A. The approach of using smartphone and computer as a medium of communication makes things easier. The information can be delivered without delay and can cover rich content like pictures, videos, and links to other information just like B, sending pictures to his answer to A.
Old man, who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
I have told you.
Are you deaf?
No, you is blind.
I'm not blind, you blind.
That is what I just said.
You just said what?
I did not say what. I said you.
That's what I'm asking you.
And you is answering.
Shut up! You!
Yes?
Not you, him! What's your name?
Me.
Yes, you!
I am me.
He's me. And I'm you.
Verbal communication styles. Context is information that circles a communication and helps to send a message. Such as, in high context society like Japan and many Arab countries uses messages that highly summarize and indirect. Low context society like the United States and Canada, as they are using messages that are often straightforward and speaker says precisely of what she or he means.
Characteristics of verbal styles. Indirect and direct style. In high context cultures, messages are highly summarized and indirect. It usually happens between family, friends, co-workers and client. They do not have to rely on language alone to communicate, as they know each other very well. Voice intonation, timing and facial expressions can all play roles conveying the information. In low context culture, they tend to be direct and focused in their communication as they do not know each other well. To differentiate high context and low context culture is by finding out the types of question asked. For example, high context culture will say who will be at this meeting so that he or she knows how to prepare for appropriate personal interaction. For low context cultures will say what is this meeting about so he or she knows how to properly organize for the appointment.
There are three levels of communication quantity, that is elaborating, exacting, and succinct. Firstly, elaborating styles. It comes from the word elaboration, which means to explain. High context cultures with moderate degrees of uncertainty avoidance are more popular with elaborating style. This style is often used in Arabic countries. Secondly, exacting style. The other word for exacting is precise. It is more common in low context with low uncertainty of avoidance, as they focuses on precision and use right amount of words to convey messages. These styles are commonly used in England, Germany, and Sweden. Lastly, the succinct styles are the most common in Asia. The meaning of succinct is compact. They tend to say few words and allow pauses and silence to convey meaning.
This is what it looks like to text someone with elaboration style and succinct style.
Contextual and personal style. Contextual style is focusing on the speaker and the relationship of the parties. For example, in Asian culture, people use words that reflect on the role and status of those in the conversation, like in Japan, India, and Ghana. The speaker will call the other by words that will point out their status. A personal style focuses to reduce the barrier between the parties, like the United States, Australia, and Canada. For example, in the United States, it is common to call one by first name and address others informally and directly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Donald Trump. Did I mess your hair up?
Affective and instrumental styles. Affective style is common in unified, high context cultures such as in the Middle East, Latin America, and Asia. It requires the listener to use instinct to translate messages. In contrast, instrumental style is more usually found in individualistic, low context cultures like Switzerland, Denmark, and United States. It is more goal-oriented and focuses more on the sender and clearly lets other know what he or she wants other to know.
Chief of the Daily Northwestern. I also
won a national competition for college journalists with my series on the janitors union, which exposed the exploitation of... Yeah, okay. You're right. I don't fit in here. I am not skinny or glamorous, and I don't know that much about fashion, but I'm smart. I learn fast.
If a person shakes his head like this, it means he's saying yes. Raju, did you milk the cow today? Yes can also be said like this. If a person moves his head like this, it means he's saying no. Raju, did you shave your beard today? If a person sways his head like this, it means maybe or may not be. Raju, did you delete the browser history? You did? You didn't? What?
To understand a conversation, the receiver and the sender should be talking on the same page. Hence, that's why Americans, they always like to ask, do you know what I'm thinking right now? Yes, I do know what you are thinking about.
There are two types of communication flow, that is downward communication and upward communication. The definition of downward communication is the communication of information from manager to subordinate. The primary purpose is to give orders or information. This is usually done by the top authority, the CEO, to the lower authority, the employees. Managers uses this channel for instruction and performance feedback. Channel help flow of information to those who need it for operational purposes. For example, in Asian country, downward communication is less direct than in the United States. In some Europe countries, downward communication is not only direct but extends beyond business matters.
Upward communication. The meaning of upward communication is the transfer of information from subordinate to superior. The main purpose is to provide feedback, ask questions and obtain assistance. In recent years, the United States have been promoting more use of upward communication. In Japan, Hong Kong and Singapore, upward communication has long been used. For example, the Japanese firm Matsushita used the same approach whenever it has established new business worldwide.
Cultural barriers in language means that to be careful not to use generalized statements about benefits, compensation, pay cycles, holidays, and policies in worldwide communication. This is because most of cultural barriers in language is affected by their geographical, cultural, and institutional distance. Words may have different meanings even in English-speaking country. The approaches of writing letters are also different in worldwide. For example, when compared to Asian, American writers are far blunter and more direct. When using dollars, make sure to clarify which dollars.
Please tell me you speak English. I'm Detective Carter. Do you speak any English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Put your bag in the back. Put your bag in the back. No.
Perceptual barriers. Perception is a person's view of reality. It can influence their judgment and decision making. For example, Japanese stockbrokers who perceive that the chances of improving their career would be better with US firms have changed their job. Advertising message. Some of the advertising can cause misunderstanding as it was misinterpreted by others. For example, KFC catchphrase "finger licking good" in China was misinterpreted as "eat your fingers off." Thus, managers should be very careful when translating message, as some common phrases in one country will not mean the same thing in others. View of others. Perception influences how individuals see others. This is because how others see us may be different than we think. For example, most Americans see themselves as extremely friendly, outgoing and kind, but at the same time, they are not aware of negative impression they give to others.
Non-verbal communication. There are 4 types of non-verbal communication: kinesics, proxemics, chronemics, and chromatics. Non-verbal communication is the transfer of meaning through body language and use of physical space. For example, facial expression, gestures, paralinguistic, body language and postures, eye gaze, haptics, appearance, and artifact. Kinesics is a study of communication through body movement and facial expression, such as eye contact, posture, and gesture. For example, in the United States, when communicating with someone verbally, one must look the other person in the eye. The communicating through eye contact and gaze is known as oculesics.
Of others, check if they make dry eye contact or avoid it. When your company refrain from seeing straight into your eyes, you may presume they are lacking enthusiasm, or something else, like a trash can, might have drawn their attention, or in the worst case, they may not be telling the truth, particularly if their gaze avert or shift sideways. However, when you observe that your company tend to keep their gaze alone, you may assume 2 things. Either they feel restless, or they agree to your suggestion or submit to your persona. If someone widens their pupils, then this may indicate their approval. How so? As they attempt to pay more attention and try to get engaged with the conversation, their pupils will inevitably enlarge to let more of what they like to enter their eyes. Under certain circumstances, this might be visible to you, but dispose it right away. You may need a little training. You may also notice that someone's eyes blink more than usual. This is when you need to understand that they are in struggle to keep calm. Something you say that bothers them or stressful situation can cause the rapid blinking of eyes. To some extent, the intense blinking of eyes, along with the occasional touching of lips and eyes, can also indicate that they are not being honest with you. Glancing at something can suggest a desire for that thing. For example, if someone glances at the door, this may indicate to the desire to leave. Likewise, glancing at someone may express the desire to talk to him or her. When it comes to eye behavior, it is also suggested that looking upwards and to the right during a conversation indicates a lie has been told, while looking upwards into the left indicates the person is telling the truth. The reason for this is that people look up and into the right when using their imagination to think of a story, and look up to the left when they are recalling an actual memory.
Communicating through the use of bodily contact is known as haptics. For example, Canadians shake hands, Japanese bow, and Middle Easterner of the same gender kiss on the cheek.
A handshake is going to happen when you meet either a high D personality, who's the dominant aggressive type, or someone who is easily intimidated and needs to use these types of tactics, such as squeezing the life out of your hand to try and jockey for dominance during an encounter. By placing your offhand underneath of another person's hand, with your shaking hand rotating over the top of their hand, it now becomes a subconscious move on your part of being in control of the other person. It simply means that they are not confident in themselves. They more than likely dislike physical contact and can easily be dominated in most interactions. High Ds will thrive with this type of personality.
Proxemics is the study of the way people use physical space to convey messages. Firstly, intimate distance is used for very confidential communication. Secondly, Personal distance is used for talking with family and close friends. Next, social distance is used to handle most business transactions. Lastly, public distance is used when calling a crossroom or giving a talk to a group.
The culture. What is the correct way to behave? Do I make eye contact or do I avert my eyes at women?
Just eye contact, but not like that. A little bit scary.
Scary. What I'm doing now is scary. So you're saying, look at people in the eye, but not too closely. You tell me when I'm too close. I'm gonna start moving towards you, and you say when I'm
Okay,
too.
that's enough.
That's enough.
Remember, it is very important to learn and respect this distancing. Otherwise, you might end up making someone uncomfortable or sexually harassing someone in a certain country.
Chronemics refers to the way in which time is used in culture. Monochronic time schedule are things must be done in linear or direct fashion. For example, a manager will address to issues A first, then move to issues B. It is used in the United States, Great Britain, Canada, and Australia. It is also used in societies that consider time schedules are important and time to be controllable factor that need to be used wisely. Polychronic time schedule is where several things are done at the same time. Personal involvement has high value than getting things done on time. They consider personal relationships more important than time schedules. It is common in Latin America and Middle East. When doing business in countries that use monochromic time schedules, it is important to be on time for meetings. And when doing business in countries that use polychromic time schedule, it is common to find business meetings starting late and finishing late.
Ask you a question. If an Arab person says they're going to meet you somewhere at 4 p.m., what time do you think they'll show up?
5:30.
5:30, huh?
Yeah.
That late?
Yeah.
What time will they show up? Well, let's say they come. So an Arab tells you they're going to meet you somewhere at 4 p.m. Why are you laughing?
I already know. Inshallah.
And how does that make you feel?
You know, I think it's also in our Asian men too.
What time are they going to show up?
5 at best.
At best?
Yeah.
An hour is good, the idea.
It's a mutual agreement, so it's fine.
So you're going to show up late too?
Yeah.
I love it.
Chromatics, the use of color to convey messages. It is important to know the specifics of chromatics in a culture, as it may help to avoid embarrassing situations. For example, in the United States, it is common to wear black for mourning, while in India, people wear white for mourning.
Meanings of colors in cultures all over the globe. Red. Red symbolizes love and passion in many countries in North and South America and Europe. In America, Valentine's Day is represented with red hearts to celebrate love. Red has several meanings in Indian culture. Red can represent fear, wealth, purity, love, marriage, and beauty. Women wearing red henna on their hands and sindoor, a red powder along their hairlines, means that they are married. In China, red represents luck and fertility. For example, during the Chinese New Year's celebration, small red envelopes are distributed to symbolize good fortune. Women often wear red on their wedding days to symbolize fertility and a marked change in a woman's life. In Thailand, red symbolizes their sun god Surya. Red also marks Sunday, as every day of the week in Thailand is represented by a certain color. Red in African cultures symbolizes death and grief. In Nigeria and South Africa, red symbolizes violence and sacrifice. The flag of South Africa has red in it to symbolize the violence that occurred during its fight for freedom. Blue. Blue is a dichotomous color because it bears both positive and negative meanings. For example, in North America, blue represents trust and serenity, but it can also symbolize depression and loneliness. For example, American banks such as Citibank and Bank of America use blue in their logos because it represents trust and security. Blue is also a symbol of masculinity.
In achieving communication effectiveness, we need to provide open feedback system. For personal users, face-to-face, phone or email. For impersonal, using reports, budgets and plans. Both systems help affiliates to keep their home office aware of progress and help home office monitor and control affiliates or partners' performance as well as set goals and standards. Next, we need to provide language training. Non-native speakers must know how to communicate and write in the language of the home office. For example, a US manager working for a Japanese MNC must know how to communicate and write in Japanese to achieve effectiveness and understanding of the information.
Increase flexibility and cooperation. This is to improve effectiveness in communication and understanding and cooperation. Each party must be prepared to give a little. For example, the case of International Computers Limited in Japan urges its people to strive for successful collaboration in their international partnership and ventures by focusing on effective communication.
What's up, my nigga?
What did you just say?
What's up, my nigga?
Negotiation is the process of bargaining with one or more parties to get a solution that is acceptable to all. It is an impressive learnable skill that is important for MNC to negotiate with the host country. It is also used in creating joint ventures with local firms and in getting the operation off the ground. On macro level of international trade, negotiations are conducted between the countries. For example, the current balance of trade problem between the United States and China.
There are two types of negotiation: distributive negotiation and integrative negotiation. Firstly, distributive negotiation. It occurs when two parties with opposing goals compete over a set value. For example, there is an item at a vendor that the person had interest in it but considered the price a bit high. The goal of the buyer is to get the item at a lower price. The seller, on the other hand, is to maximize profit. Both are trying to get the best deal, but usually will end up as a win-lose situation. Secondly, integrative negotiation. It involves cooperation between the two groups to join interests, create value, and invest in the agreement. Both groups' goal is to maximize benefits for both sides and distributing those benefits. This relationship tends to be long-term as it takes time to get to know each other and what motivates them. There are 5 negotiation processes: planning, interpersonal relationship building, exchanging task-related information, persuasion, and agreement. Firstly, planning starts by the negotiator identifying objective, exploring options to achieve objective, and finding area of common ground between parties. Secondly, interpersonal relationship building is getting to know people on other side. Thirdly, exchanging task-related information. Each group set forth its position on critical issues and will change later in negotiations. Fourth, persuasion is the most important. Success depends on understanding each party's position, ability to identifying areas of similarities and difference, ability of creating new options, the willingness of working toward a solution. Lastly, agreement. It is the granting of acknowledgement and hammering out of a final agreement.
Over, yes, and you accept our offer.
Let's take a look on how to understand certain business cultures. For example, US negotiators believe in facts and goals, means more business and less chit-chat. For Arab negotiators are in contrast, building relationship is priority than rushing to sign a contract. So take your time and drink coffee with them. Finally, for Chinese negotiators, they are tricky. Just because they smile and nod to every word you say, don't be surprised if they reject your offer.
Negotiation tactic is divided into 3: location, time limits, and buyer-seller relation. Location. Most businesses will choose a neutral site. For example, US firm negotiating with companies from the Far East will meet in Hawaii, and South American companies negotiating with European will meet halfway in New York City. This is to avoid gaining advantage of a location and to finish negotiation soon due to the cost of staying at site is high. Number 2 is time limit. It is an important negotiation tactics when one party is under time constraint. Time limit can be used tactically if the negotiator meets at a neutral site. For example, most Americans like to be home with their families for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year holiday. Lastly, buyer-seller relation. When negotiations are over, Americans walk away with what they have received from other party and they expect that the other to do the same. In Japan, however, believes that buyers should get most of what they want.
5 general principles. First, separate the people from the problem. Understand others' position, avoid blame, stay positive, and recognize emotions. Number 2, focus on interests over positions. Gives one understanding into the motivation behind why a particular position was chosen. Number 3, generate a variety of options before settling on an argument. Includes brainstorming and change thought focus about the problems. Fourth, insist the agreement based on objective criteria by emphasizing the communal nature of the process. Last, number 5, standing ground. They should defend their terms but should not agree to the term that will leave the worst for them. Bargaining behavior is divided into 3. First, verbal or non-verbal. Verbal behaviors are important because they can improve the final outcome and are critical to the success of negotiation. Second, use of extreme behaviors. Some begin with an extreme offer or request like Chinese and Arabs, while some begin with an initial position that is close to the one they are seeking like the American and Sweden. Third, promises, threats, and other behaviors. Some uses promises, threats, rewards, self-disclosure, and other behaviors to influence the other party.
Earlier, the president said North Korea's offer included dismantling its central nuclear research and development facility in exchange for complete sanctions relief. Just hours later, North Korea's foreign minister Ri Yong-ho said his country wanted only partial sanctions relief.
North Korea-America relationship is an example of extreme behaviors. One of the reasons Kim Jong-un wanted to develop nuclear weapons is that so they can threat America to bargain with them, so they can gain benefit.
To summarize, in this video we have learned about communication, which consists of verbal and non-verbal style. Under verbal style, firstly, there is indirect versus direct style, followed with elaborate, exacting, and succinct style. Then, contextual versus personal style. Lastly, affective versus instrumental style. Communication flows consist of downward and upward communication. Next, there is communication barrier such as language, cultural, and perception barrier. For non-verbal communication, firstly, there is kinesthetic. Under kinesthetic, there are oculesic and haptic. Secondly, proxemic, which consists of intimate, personal, social, and public distance. Thirdly, chronomics, which is about time, either monochronic or polychronic time. Fourthly, chromatics. Remember, do not confuse chromatics and chronomics. Finally, we have learned about negotiation with particular attention to how negotiation approach and strategies must be adapted to different cultural environment. In negotiation part, it consists of distributive and integrative negotiation. There are 5 negotiation process, which is planning, interpersonal relationship building, exchanging task-related information, persuasion, and agreement. Then, followed by 3 negotiation tactics, which is location, time limit, and buyer-seller relationship. We hope you learned something through this video of Chapter 5, Communication in International Context.